Alright, so we're going to be looking at the Power O first from this game. We're going to go through a lot of different versions of the Power O. This is actually the first snap of the game. Let's take a look at full speed here, and then we'll watch in slow-mo afterwards. This first version of the Power O didn't go for very many yards. Let's rewind and take a look at why. First of all, on this play, what you're going to get is the tight end base blocking the defensive end. You're going to get a gap combo between the tackle and the guard on the play side. They're looking to attack this three technique defender and then work toward the backside linebacker, in this case the will linebacker. You get Trey Hopkins pulling across the formation. He's trying to find the middle linebacker, but really he's just supposed to clean up any trash that's in the hole when he comes across and try to kick it out. You get the fullback. He's supposed to lead block on the Sam linebacker. And normally that block will come inside of the tight end, which we'll see in this case kind of produces some problems for the fullback. So what we see is a good gap combo. They're working the combo block and waiting for the linebacker to come to them. Pullman actually is able to turn the defensive end inside from his tight end position and collapse him down the line. That's actually the ideal scenario in the power play. Now if that happens, what's supposed to happen is that's supposed to reroute the fullback's block outside of that block, and the the pulling guard should actually wrap all the way around that collapsed line. Instead what happens is produces hesitation from the fullback. He doesn't block with his full power, and Hopkins turns upside a little bit sooner than he should. If that fullback is on a wider path, then there's probably a bigger hole to work with. So as a result, we kind of lose the umph part of the play on the power, where the pulling blockers are able to kick out the trash from the hole, and our running back is clogged up. So this is one play where you'd like to maybe see the running back consider bouncing this out. He does the right thing, which is he's riding the inside hip of the pulling guard and looking for the crease. But if you look, the force player has really come far inside here, and if the running back were to bounce out here, he'd have nothing but green to work with. This is another version of the Power O with a similar alignment for us inside the box. This time you'll notice that the Wyoming defender submarines the combo block, and that creates a little bit of a traffic jam there. You see Walter still crawling to try to get to that well linebacker. That's kind of nice. The other thing to notice here is that the tight end is doing a pretty good job on his base block. His main idea is to tie that defensive end up and try to push him where he wants to go. And Hopkins wraps around here and is still able to find the middle linebacker and seal him inside, so he creates a little bit of running room. And Bergeron gets a little bit of a pickup. Also notice the fullback this time peeled outside, got the force defender, and the Sam almost took himself out of the play. He does recover here and make the tackle, though. One point I'd like to make is one of the reasons Fozzie Whitaker was so effective last year on the power play was his ability to cut it back. If you look at the play right here, the will linebacker from the backside has overcommitted to the run, and that's leaving a gaping running lane on the backside of this play. And that's really the dual nature of the power play when it's run effectively, is being able to read this will linebacker, and when he overcommits, exploit the backside of this play. So that's one thing you'd like to see from our backs, is recognition and reading that backside linebacker and being able to cut this play back as well. You can see if Bergeron had done that here, he probably runs for a touchdown. So let's look at another Power O play. We're going to see a lot of the same themes repeated here. We see a congested hole, and basically the run gets stopped for almost no gain. If we go back and watch again, you're going to see a great combo block here between Hopkins and Hawkins. And that was a theme in this game. They had a number of great combo blocks. You can see here they get great displacement on the three technique. Greg Daniels struggles a little bit on the end here. He had kind of an up and down night. He definitely won some battles on the edge, but this one he sort of gets pushed back a little bit. You don't want to see that. Then Espinoza from the center position, you can see he's getting pushed back by the nose here, and the hole's getting compressed. I'd say the biggest issue on this play, though, is, again, hesitancy from the fullback. You can see he almost basically comes to a stop at the line of scrimmage and is clogging up the hole just by himself. So again, he's got to be aggressive through the hole or take an outside route around the tight end's block and block a force player on the outside. If he takes that outside right, then that gives the running back sort of an inside-outside decision. He can follow the lead block from the pulling guard, or he can follow the block to the outside, and that creates kind of a problem for the linebackers on where they should commit, inside or outside. So again, aggressiveness from the fullbacks is definitely something that we're going to need to look for improvement for against New Mexico. So here's Jonathan Gray on a power play. And even though this play didn't go particularly well, I think it actually shows some things that are fairly positive for Gray. So you can see he gets tied up behind the line and barely gets a gain. If you watch this in slow motion, though, a couple things. Again, we're getting good movement on the combo block on the play side right here. You notice that Gray cuts the play away from the play side, though. He cuts back. Let's look at why that happened. If you go back to the start of the play, watch the weak side linebacker here. What you'll see is him overcommit to the run. What Gray's picking up is the same thing that Fozzie Whitaker was so effective at last year, when the defense overcommits to the play side to look for a cutback. And that's exactly what Jonathan Gray is doing here when he cuts back. What ends up happening, though, is that weak side linebacker is going for a run-through, and Mason Walters ends up trying to smack him away from the play side and actually ends up throwing him right into Jonathan Gray. It's not something that would typically happen. You can see if that doesn't happen, most likely Gray's going to rip off a pretty good run here. In fact, if you look from the end zone cam instead, you look at the hole that Gray would have had to work with right there. Aside from a player getting thrown in his path, he's got a pretty good running lane that he's working toward there. So I think that shows positive things for Gray, and particularly long-term, thinking about Gray and the Wildcat, there's definitely possibilities for him there, where that backside tends to open up a lot in combination with the speed. So here's yet another version of power. We checked into this play because of favorable box numbers. You can see the defense just has 5 defenders in the box here, and we've got 6 blockers. So even though there's only a minute left in the half, it's still a good play here. We run power. We get a few yards on the play, but we missed the big play here. If you watch this again, this is what would be called A-gap power. And the reason for that is, if you watch Walters on his pull here, he's pulling right to the opposite A-gap and leading through that gap. Obviously what stops this play is the nose gets across Espinoza as Bergeron's coming across the line and is able to make the tackle. If you look at the downfield blocking here, I mean, there's nothing but open field in front of Bergeron if he clears the line there. So, one thing here is that Espinoza could have called for a combo block. He could have called for help from Hopkins here to help displace that nose a little bit before Hopkins proceeds to the next level. And since there's only one defender really directly in front of the play, that would make sense. You'd secure the hole a little bit better, and you'd still get a downfield blocker in Hopkins. So that's an adjustment that hopefully we'll make in that situation. We definitely can deal with odd fronts, but it might be that Espinoza needs a little bit of help. The other thing is, if you look at when Bergeron gets this ball, there's also the availability of a cutback lane on the backside of this play as well, and that's another way this play could have gone for pretty big yardage. Alright, so next up we're going to take a look at a couple of different versions of inside zone from the game. This first one's kind of fun. You may notice in our alignment here we have 3 receiving threats to the field, a tight end to the field, and a running back to a field. So really this is kind of an unbalanced set. What that does is it causes Wyoming to align without a true force player to the boundary, And that allows us to run inside zone here toward the boundary, and for Malcolm Brown to be able to bounce this play outside and find some running room. So one of the things with Hawkins and Cochran as our tackles this year is I think both of those guys are fairly good at winning the edge battles. And Hawkins in particular did a really great job at establishing the edge on a number of plays in this game. Here he does a nice job of taking on the defensive end and tying him up enough for Malcolm Brown to gain the edge and run for a big gain. So that's sort of a theme to look for from our team this year is running to the open side of a formation or a side of a formation without a tight end where our tackles are actually setting the edge, or plays like the pin and pull where a tackle will set the edge and the tight end will have kind of a flexible block. We'll see some of that later. So this is another version of inside zone we run. Actually kind of a mix of man and zone. It's a lead play. This gets tackled in the backfield for a little bit of a loss. Actually, this was close to being a really nice play. So the idea in this play is that there should be a play side combo block that's a zone call. Here you can see that's happening between the guard Espinoza and the left guard Hopkins and the center Espinoza. They're comboing on the defensive tackle, and then Espinoza's working to the Mike linebacker. So that play side combo should work to the Mike. And then the fullback should be lead blocking on the Sam linebacker. In this case, Robertson runs right by his assignment, which is the Sam linebacker, and attacks the Mike linebacker. It's actually a very nice block that he makes, probably his best of the night, but he's making it on the wrong guy. And as a result, the Sam linebacker comes free into the backfield and makes a tackle for a loss. This is definitely a version of zone to watch out for. It's a nice play because you get a lot of the benefits of like an ISO play with the lead block, but you also get the benefit of the combo blocks from the zone play. Here's another version of inside zone. I'm pairing it with a speed sweep fake here. Bergeron gets the ball and he ends up getting tripped up at the line of scrimmage. I want to look at how close this was to being a really nice play. First of all, if we watch the combos in the inside zone, combo blocks and the defensive tackles go really well here. In particular, Walters right here walking the defensive tackle back does a really great job. We don't get quite what we want from the block on the defensive end with the fullback. Right here you can see the defensive end wins that contact and is able to squeeze the hole right as Brown is breaking through, and he's able to make the play. If we get a little bit more hesitation there on the defensive end and Brown's able to exploit that backside of the inside zone, then it essentially puts Brown in a one-on-one with the safety, which is exactly what we're trying to generate here. So again, really close, and the offensive line did a really nice job on this play. We do need a little bit more from the fullback on that block. He doesn't have to drive the defensive end, but he does have to keep him from collapsing the hole. Alright, so of course I couldn't leave out the biggest inside zone play of the night, Bergeron's fourth quarter run here. Fake the speed sweep. Bergeron has a huge hole to run through, gets a one-on-one with the safety, avoids the tackle, and then breaks another tackle, and rumbles for a big gain here. Makes the most out of the opportunity. I'll just go back to the snap here. A couple things to notice. First, the combo block on the play side here between Walters and Espinoza is great. Espinoza kind of comes down as a hammer here and gets horizontal displacement on the defensive tackle that helps open up this hole. And also on the backside, you've got Hopkins and Hawkins doing a great job of cutting off pursuit from the backside. Hawkins doing a really good job of getting to the second level cutting off the linebacker there. Also notice Espinoza rolling out to the second level, letting the block come to him, and then cutting off pursuit from the outside. So see a great seal on this hole here from both sides. See a safety broken down 5 yards away from his target, and that's always going to be a win for the running back. So we're also going to take a look at the pin and pull play. The 3 plays together, power O, inside zone, and pin and pull, kind of form the real heart and soul of the Texas run game. On this first version of pin and pull, we'll see it paired with the speed sweep here. You can see Monroe come across the formation. Notice that the fullback actually pulls out like he's going to lead block for this speed sweep. Actually draws 3 defenders here to the backside, leaving the offense with essentially a 3-on-3 on the play side for the pin and pull. In this case, he gets tied up in the backfield for no gain. And part of that goes back to, we go back to the snap. Greg Daniels has a little bit of a hard time on the edge here. He's not able to set the edge. On the other hand, Hawkins, who came down here on a pin block, sets a really hard edge, so there is some space created between those two. But Hopkins isn't quite as assertive on the pull as he needs to be, and we get penetration in the backfield, we get a run through on the inside. It's an important dynamic to watch as we look at some more pin and pull plays, is to see how the pin and pull became more successful as the game went on. So in this next version of the play, you start to see the flexibility of the pin and pull play. This time when we run it, we're from a double tight set. We're running it here to the boundary with Grant setting the edge. Cochran and Espinoza are pulling there. Malcolm Brown finds some running room. Back up to the snap here, though. One reason why this is a nice play for this offense right now is our tight ends aren't necessarily overpowering defensive ends. If you watch Grant on this play, watch the way that as the defensive end fights for the outside, Grant just turns and rides him down the line. Why is that a good move? Well, the way this play works is kind of similar to an outside zone running play in that you're going to open up multiple running lanes by stretching the defense. Here we didn't get the running lane to the outside with the pullers, but because the defense had to commit outside and we got a good pin block from Walters, there's a huge gap in the defense here that we're able to attack. That's actually the ideal place for us to attack, right up the alley and get in one-on-one with the safety. So we'll see that theme again a few more times in this game as we look at the pin and pull. This is a nice example of the attention that the pin and pull blocking receives for the defense. See, we run pin and pull blocking toward the field here and then turn and throw a screen pass to Mike Davis, which he drops. But if we back up here and just look at it again, look at where the defenders are when that ball comes out of Ash's hands. All of them have stepped toward the field, and some of them are still moving toward the field with the blocking. You can see when the ball gets to Davis, he's got a beautiful running lane here with just a one-on-one matchup at that point for big yardage potentially if he catches this ball. And of course the most memorable pin and pull play of the night, Bergeron's touchdown here. Motion Shipley out of the box. Draws a backside defender here. So that's going to kill some of the pursuit for this pin and pull. See again, Bergeron's able to exploit the hole between the pin block from the tackle and the tight end's block down the field. So the defense is committed outside of the tight end because of the 2 pulling linemen, and that opens up this nice big hole right up the alley. Just look at that one more time. Again, notice the job that Hawkins does here. This is really winning football on this block right here. It's exactly what you want to see. His authority on the edge was really great in this game, and that's how you set an edge for a running play right there. So we were able to adapt to what Wyoming was doing in terms of defense, and instead of being able to run this as a sweep all the way to the outside, we were able to exploit it between the tight end and the tackle. That's exactly what you want to be able to do with a running play throughout the game, is adjust it, see what the defense is doing, and then make it work for you. So also just going to touch on a couple interesting offensive concepts from the game that I wanted to highlight. First is this lead draw play that we ran in the second quarter. See the running back, Hills, in this case, is lead blocking for Ash. Just to kind of note what's going on schematically here. If you watch on the line, this play is based on a combo block between the guard and the center, and then they'll work toward the second level linebacker. And then everyone else is pass blocking and then turning that into a draw block as they engage the defense. So as Ash approaches the line here, things are in really good shape. If he gets to this lane, he's got a lead blocker for this defender. He's got a wide open space. He ends up getting tripped up. And that's primarily because Cochran didn't quite get enough of the defensive end initially on this play. To get a good feel of how this should go, check out the difference at the moment when Hawkins engages the defensive end. Look what he's able to do. And then, so you can see he completely displaces the defensive end. And then compare that with Cochran, who didn't get as good of a hit on the defensive end, and that allows the defensive end to recover and make the play. I also want to take a look at this 3rd and 10 play from the 3-wide, or from the 4-wide set here. The reason I want to look at it is, you notice Wyoming right before the snap is bringing pressure from the outside. This ends up being a 5-man pressure, but in particular, late pressure from the edge is something we struggled with a ton last year, especially from the field. So Ash makes a late scramble, and he actually makes a nice pass to Malcolm Brown here, who isn't quite able to make the catch on the ball, but there's a number of things to be encouraged about on this play. The biggest of which is, look at how Espinoza, Hopkins, and Hawkins handle this pressure from the field side. See a beautiful spread by all of them. Espinoza didn't bite on the nose crossing his face. Instead, he passed him off to the next protector and then fanned out with the rest of the offensive line to protect this blitz. Hopkins gets a great drop step at the beginning of this play. Let's watch that again. Look how quickly he gets 4 yards of depth there, and he's got a good base. Same thing with Hopkins here. He's got good position. We got good spacing between the 3 players. So it's a great pickup by the offensive line, and then I love the fact that Malcolm Brown is slipping out of the protection late to be an outlet receiver for David Ash. So all of those are really big positives for our offense. And then finally on offense, I wanted to look at this speed sweep by Monroe from the Wildcat. First thing I want to note is just that we're running a speed sweep to the boundary side of the formation, which is hard to do. There's not a lot of space here for Monroe to turn up field. The fact that he can go full speed sideways and then make this cut is pretty impressive. And obviously a great individual effort there on that play. Just to go back here, the other thing I just wanted to point out was Shipley on this block out here. He doesn't cut in space like we did a lot last year. We did do a little cutting in this game, but it wasn't as much as we saw last year. He does a good job of just being a roadblock for the defender. That gives Monroe enough space to make something happen.